On March 18, 2024, at my son's funeral, his business partner leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Don't worry, Mrs. Freeman. I'll make better use of that $18 million than Isaiah ever did. I'm Tiffany Freeman. I'm 64 years old. I didn't cry. I didn't gasp. I didn't turn around. I simply said, 'Is that so?' Then I decided to do something about it. If you're listening from somewhere far away, drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this has traveled. And please, stay with me until the end." The rain came down hard that Tuesday morning in Northeast Portland. Holman's funeral home sat on a corner lot, the kind of old brick building that had seen generations of Black families say their goodbyes. I stood in the parking lot for 10 minutes before I could make myself walk inside. My feet felt like they were filled with concrete. Inside, the air smelled like lilies and furniture polish. Too sweet, too clean. Like they were trying to cover up death with flowers. My son, my only child, lay in a mahogany casket at the front of the viewing room. Isaiah Marcus Freeman, born July 2, 1985, died March 15, 2024, 39 years old. The cancer took my husband, Robert, 3 years ago. Pancreatic, stage 4. He was only 61. We'd been married 41 years. Now my son was gone too, and I was alone. Isaiah wore his favorite navy suit, the one he'd bought for his first big business meeting. His hands were folded over his chest. The funeral home had done a good job with him. He looked peaceful. He looked like he was sleeping. But I knew better. I touched his hand. Cold. So cold. "I'm here, baby," I whispered. "Mama's here." I'd been a nurse for 37 years before I retired. Labor and delivery mostly. I'd brought hundreds of babies into this world, held hundreds of new mothers' hands, and told them everything would be all right. I knew what death looked like. I'd seen it enough times. But this was different. This was my child. The medical examiner's report said acute cerebral hemorrhage. A stroke. Massive bleeding in the brain. He'd collapsed at his office around 6:30 in the evening on March 15th. His business partner, Derek Thompson, found him and called 911. Isaiah was dead before the ambulance arrived. 39 years old. No history of high blood pressure. No heart disease. No warning signs. My nurse's instincts told me something wasn't right. But grief has a way of clouding your judgment. Maybe I was just looking for someone to blame. Maybe I couldn't accept that sometimes young, healthy people just die. I sat in the front row, my hands gripping my purse so tight my knuckles ached. Behind me, I heard people filing in. Voices, whispers, the rustle of coats and umbrellas. Such a tragedy. So young. His poor mother. I didn't turn around. I kept my eyes on my son. Then she walked in. Vanessa Freeman, Isaiah's wife of 6 years. She wore a black Chanel dress. I recognized it because I'd been with her when she bought it last year. $1,100. Her dark hair was pulled back in a perfect chignon. Her makeup was flawless, subtle, expensive. She looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. Even in grief, Vanessa was beautiful. She sat down beside me, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Her perfume filled the space between us. Something French. Something that cost more than my monthly grocery bill. "Tiffany," she said softly, reaching for my hand. I let her take it. Her fingers were cold too, but not like Isaiah's, just empty. "I can't believe he's gone," Vanessa whispered. I nodded. What was there to say? People continued to arrive. Isaiah's employees from Freeman and Associates, his college friends, neighbors, church members. The room filled up fast. My son had been loved, but as I watched people come in, I noticed something. Vanessa checked her phone. Twice. 3 times. Quick glances when she thought no one was looking. She wasn't crying. Not really. The tissue touched her eyes, but there were no tears. And her left hand, the hand that should have been wearing her wedding ring, was bare. Just a thin white line where the ring used to sit. I looked down at Isaiah's hands in the casket. His wedding ring was gone too. My stomach dropped. Isaiah never took off his ring. Never. Not to shower, not to sleep, not to work. He'd told me once, "Mama, this ring means I'm somebody's husband. I want the world to know that." So where was it? The funeral service started at 2 o'clock. Reverend James Morrison from New Hope Baptist Church presided. He'd known Isaiah since he was a boy, baptized him when he was 12. Isaiah Freeman was a light in this world, Reverend Morrison said. A successful businessman, yes, but more importantly, a good man, a faithful husband, a devoted son. I sat in the front pew, Vanessa on my left. On my right sat Isaiah's godmother, Ruth Washington. Ruth was 72, a retired schoolteacher who'd been my best friend since we were both 18. She'd held my hand through Robert's funeral. Now she was here again. "You holding up, baby?" Ruth whispered. I nodded, lying. The service went on. Hymns, prayers, testimonies from people who loved my son. I heard it all from somewhere far away, like I was underwater. Then came time for the final viewing. People lined up to pay their respects one last time. I stood beside the casket, shaking hands, accepting hugs and condolences. "I'm so sorry for your loss, Mrs. Freeman." Isaiah was a wonderful man. "You're in our prayers." I thanked them all. I smiled when I was supposed to smile. I nodded when I was supposed to nod. Then I saw him. Derek Thompson stood at the back of the line, 6'2", broad-shouldered, wearing a charcoal gray suit that probably cost $3,000. He was 42, Harvard MBA, and Isaiah's business partner for the past 8 years. Freeman and Associates was their baby. Financial consulting for small businesses and nonprofits. They'd built it from nothing. Last year, the company was valued at $18 million. $18 million. Derek's face was carefully neutral as he approached. Professional grief. The kind you wear when you need to look sad but don't actually feel anything. "Mrs. Freeman," he said, taking my hand. His grip was firm, cold. "I'm so sorry. Isaiah was like a brother to me." "Thank you, Derek." He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "If there's anything you need, anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask. I'll make sure the business continues to honor Isaiah's legacy." Something in the way he said "the business" made my skin prickle. "I appreciate that," I said. Derek nodded and moved toward the casket. He stood there for a moment, looking down at Isaiah. Then he did something strange. He smiled, just for a second, a tiny curl at the corner of his mouth, so quick I almost missed it. Then he turned and walked away, heading toward the exit. I watched him go, my heart pounding. Ruth touched my elbow. "You okay?" "Fine," I whispered. "Just tired." But I wasn't fine. Something was very, very wrong. The receiving line continued. More hands to shake, more hollow words of comfort. Then Derek appeared beside me again. I hadn't seen him come back. He must have circled around through the side hallway. "Mrs. Freeman," he said quietly. "Could I have a word? Just for a moment?" Ruth gave me a questioning look. I nodded. "Of course," I said. Derek gestured toward the small alcove near the funeral home's coat room. Away from the crowd. Private. We stepped into the alcove. Derek closed the distance between us, standing just a little too close. Looming. "I wanted to talk to you about the business," he said. "Now?" I kept my voice even. "Derek, this is my son's funeral. I know, I'm sorry, but there are things that need to be handled quickly. Legal things. The company can't just stop." "I understand." "Do you?" He tilted his head slightly. Isaiah owned 51% of Freeman and Associates. That means his shares, his portion of the company, now belong to his estate, which means they belong to Vanessa, and to you, potentially, depending on the will. I said nothing. Derek continued. $18 million is a lot of money, Mrs. Freeman. It's complicated. There are investors, contracts, obligations. This isn't something he paused. Someone without business experience can handle. Someone like me, you mean? I'm just being realistic. His voice was smooth, reasonable. You were a nurse. You've never run a company. You've never dealt with corporate finance or legal compliance or... I understand what you're saying, Derek. Good. He smiled. That same small smile from before. Then you'll understand why I think it's best if I buy out Isaiah's shares. I'll give you a fair price. You and Vanessa can walk away with plenty of money, and I'll handle the rest. Everyone wins. I looked up at him, really looked at him. Derek Thompson. Handsome, educated, connected, white, and standing in front of an elderly black woman at her son's funeral, trying to convince her to sign away millions of dollars. How much? I asked quietly. I'm sorry? How much is a fair price for my son's life's work? Derek's smile faltered. Mrs. Freeman, I'm not trying to. How much, Derek? He straightened. 4 million. Cash. Clean deal. No lawyers. No delays. 4 million for $18 million worth of shares. Less than 25 cents on the dollar. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger, not yet. Something sharper. Clarity. I'll think about it, I said. Derek's eyes narrowed. Don't think too long. The business world moves fast, and... He stopped mid-sentence. His hand moved to the alcove wall beside my head, caging me in. He leaned down, his mouth close to my ear. Don't worry, Mrs. Freeman, he whispered. I'll make better use of that 18 million than Isaiah ever did. Your son was brilliant, I'll give him that. But he was too soft, too ethical. He didn't understand that in business, you have to be willing to do what it takes to win. His breath was warm against my skin. And between you and me, his voice dropped even lower. Isaiah was getting in the way, always questioning my decisions, always slowing things down with his moral concerns. The company will be better off without him. He pulled back, still smiling. Think about my offer, but don't take too long. You wouldn't want anything unfortunate to happen. Heart disease runs in families, doesn't it? Your husband had cancer, sure. But your mother, didn't she die of a heart attack at 63? My blood turned to ice. He knew about my mother. He'd researched me. You're 64 now, aren't you? Derek continued. Same age she was when she started having episodes. Stress can be very dangerous for women your age, Mrs. Freeman. All this grief, this confusion about business matters you don't understand. Well, it wouldn't be surprising if you had some health problems. He patted my shoulder. Take care of yourself, and think about my offer. Then he walked away, rejoining the crowd like nothing had happened. I stood in the alcove, my heart hammering so hard I thought my ribs would crack. Derek Thompson had just threatened me, at my son's funeral, and he'd implied, no, he'd practically said it, that Isaiah's death was somehow convenient for him. I pressed my hand against the wall to steady myself. Ruth appeared in the doorway. Tiffany? Baby, you look like you've seen a ghost. What did that man say to you? I opened my mouth to tell her, then stopped. If Derek was dangerous, if he'd done something to Isaiah, then I couldn't let him know I suspected anything. I had to be smart, careful. Nothing, I said. Just business talk. You know how men are. Ruth frowned, not buying it, but she didn't push. Come on, she said, taking my arm. Let's get you back to your seat. The burial was at Laurelhurst Cemetery under a sprawling oak tree. The rain had stopped, but the ground was soft and muddy. We stood under a green tent while Reverend Morrison said the final prayers. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, I watched them lower my son into the ground. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. People began to disperse. Vanessa stood apart from me, talking quietly with Derek. I watched them. The way they stood just a little too close. The way Derek's hand brushed Vanessa's elbow. Ruth saw it too. That don't look right, she muttered. No, I agreed. It doesn't. After everyone left, I asked the funeral director for a moment alone. He nodded and stepped away. I approached the casket one last time. They'd closed it for the burial, but I touched the smooth wood anyway. I love you, baby, I whispered. I'm so sorry I couldn't protect you. Then I saw it. Tucked beneath one of the flower arrangements on top of the casket was a small white envelope. My name was written on it in handwriting I knew as well as my own. Isaiah's handwriting. My hands shook as I picked it up. I looked around. No one was watching. I opened the envelope. Inside was a single piece of paper, folded once. I unfolded it. Mom, if you're reading this, something has happened to me. I don't have time to explain everything, but you need to know. I'm in danger. Derek has been stealing from the company. $3.7 million over the past 18 months. I found proof. I was going to turn him in. I think Vanessa knows. I think she's helping him. I've left information in our safety deposit box at Columbia Bank. Box 847. You have the key. Remember the key I gave you last Christmas in that blue envelope? I told you it was for my storage unit. I lied. It's for the safety deposit box. Everything you need is in there. Bank records, email printouts, evidence, all of it. I also hired a private investigator. His name is James Mitchell. His number is in the box, too. Mom, I'm scared. I don't know what they'll do. But if something happens to me, you need to know it wasn't an accident. Please be careful. Derek is dangerous. So is Vanessa. I love you. You're the strongest person I've ever known. You survived racism, poverty, losing Dad. You can survive this, too. Get justice for me, Mama. Love always. Isaiah. I read the note 3 times, my vision blurring with tears. My son had known. He'd known he was in danger, and he'd left me a roadmap to the truth. Derek didn't just threaten me today. He'd already killed my son, and now he was coming for me. I folded the note carefully and put it in my purse. Then I looked up at the oak tree, its branches reaching toward the gray Portland sky. I hear you, baby, I whispered, and I promise you, I'm going to make this right. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table in my house on Northeast Alberta Street, the same house Robert and I bought in 1987 for $73,000. The same house where we raised Isaiah, where we had Christmas mornings and birthday parties and Sunday dinners after church. Now it was just me. The house felt too big, too quiet. Isaiah's note lay on the table in front of me. I'd read it so many times the paper was soft from my fingerprints. Derek has been stealing from the company. $3.7 million. I think Vanessa knows. I think she's helping him. If something happens to me, it wasn't an accident. At 3 in the morning, I made myself a cup of coffee and opened my laptop. My hands shook as I typed cerebral hemorrhage causes into Google. The first page of results talked about aneurysms, high blood pressure, head trauma, natural causes. Then I scrolled down. Drug-induced cerebral hemorrhage. I clicked the link. Certain medications, when used in excessive doses or in combination with other substances, can cause bleeding in the brain. Anticoagulants, blood thinners such as warfarin, are particularly dangerous when misused. Warfarin. I knew that drug. I'd administered it hundreds of times as a nurse. It prevents blood clots. But in high doses, or combined with certain vitamins or supplements, it can cause uncontrollable bleeding, including bleeding in the brain. I kept reading. Symptoms of warfarin overdose include unusual bruising, nosebleeds, bleeding gums, fatigue, headaches. My breath caught. 2 weeks before he died, Isaiah had called me. He'd sounded tired. I've been getting these headaches, Mama. Bad ones. And I keep getting nosebleeds. Have you seen a doctor? I'd asked. Vanessa says it's just stress. She's been making me these health smoothies, vitamins and stuff. She says they'll help. Oh, God. Vanessa had been making him smoothies. What if she'd been putting warfarin in them, little by little, enough to weaken him, enough to cause the hemorrhage? It would look natural. A tragic stroke. No one would question it. I closed the laptop and buried my face in my hands. They'd murdered my baby, slowly, deliberately, and I was going to prove it. At 9 o'clock the next morning, March 19th, 2024, I walked into Columbia Bank on Northeast Broadway. I wore my church clothes, a navy dress, low heels, my good coat. I wanted to look respectable, put together, not like a grieving mother who'd lost her mind. The bank manager, a young white woman named Stephanie, greeted me with professional sympathy. Mrs. Freeman, I was so sorry to hear about Isaiah. He was such a wonderful client. Thank you, I said. I need to access our safety deposit box, number 847. Of course, do you have the key? I pulled out the small silver key Isaiah had given me last Christmas. He'd tucked it in a blue envelope with a card that said, "For emergencies, Mama, just in case." I thought it was strange at the time, but Isaiah had always been careful, prepared. Now I understood why. Stephanie led me down to the vault, a windowless room lined with small metal doors. She used her master key and my key to open box 847, then pulled out a long metal container. Take your time, she said, leaving me alone in the small privacy room. I opened the box. Inside was a thick manila envelope, a USB drive, and a smaller white envelope labeled James Mitchell, Private Investigator. My hands trembled as I opened the manila envelope. The first document was a spreadsheet, columns of numbers, dates, and account names. At the top, in Isaiah's handwriting, Derek Thompson, unauthorized transfers. I scanned the entries. January 15th, 2023, $47,000 transferred from Freeman and Associates operating account to TDT Holdings, LLC. February 3, 2023, $63,500 transferred to TDT Holdings, LLC. March 22, 2023, $89,000 transferred to TDT Holdings, LLC. On and on. Dozens of transfers, different amounts, different dates, but always to the same place. TDT Holdings, LLC. At the bottom of the page, Isaiah had written, total $3,742,000. $3,742,000. I felt sick. The next document was a corporate filing from the Oregon Secretary of State. TDT Holdings, LLC, registered on December 8, 2022. Owner, Derek Thompson. So Derek had created a fake company and been funneling Freeman and Associates money into his own pocket for over a year. But there was more. The next papers were bank statements for an account at Wells Fargo. The account holder, Vanessa Freeman. I frowned. Vanessa had her own checking account. Isaiah had mentioned it. He'd said she liked keeping some money separate for her personal expenses. But these statements showed something different. Deposit, January 18, 2023, $15,000. Source voice, TDT Holdings, LLC. Deposit March 1, 2023, $20,000. Source TDT Holdings, LLC. Deposit April 12, 2023, $18,500. Source TDT Holdings, LLC. Derek had been paying Vanessa, my daughter-in-law, my son's wife. She'd been taking money from Derek, money he'd stolen from Isaiah's company. The deposits continued, month after month, totaling $463,000. I sat back in the chair, my heart pounding. This wasn't just embezzlement. This was conspiracy. Derek and Vanessa had been working together for over a year, stealing from Isaiah, planning, and then they'd killed him. The white envelope contained a business card and a handwritten note from Isaiah. Mom, James Mitchell is ex-Portland PD. He's been investigating Derek for 6 months. He has more evidence. His retainer is paid through April. Trust him. I called the number on the card as soon as I got home. Mitchell Investigations, a man's voice answered. Mr. Mitchell, my name is Tiffany Freeman. I'm Isaiah Freeman's mother. A pause. Then, Mrs. Freeman, I've been waiting for your call. I'm very sorry about your son. Thank you. Isaiah left me your information. He said you've been investigating Derek Thompson. I have. Are you somewhere private? Somewhere you can talk? I looked around my empty living room. Yes. Good. Don't discuss this over the phone. Can you meet me today? There's a coffee shop on Killingsworth and Interstate. Cup and Saucer, 2 o'clock? I'll be there. James Mitchell was not what I expected. He was a black man in his mid-40s, stocky and solid, with close-cropped hair going gray at the temples. He wore jeans and a Portland Trail Blazers jacket. He looked like somebody's uncle, not a private investigator. But his eyes were sharp, alert. He stood when I approached the table. Mrs. Freeman? He shook my hand. His grip was firm. Thank you for coming. We sat. He'd already ordered me a coffee, black, the way I like it. How did you know? I asked. Isaiah told me. Said his mama drank her coffee black and her tea with honey. Said you were the smartest woman he'd ever known. My throat tightened. He was a good boy. He was a good man, James corrected gently, and he loved you very much. That's why he hired me. He wanted to make sure you'd have everything you needed if something happened to him. You think they killed him? It wasn't a question. James opened a folder on the table. I know they did. I just can't prove it yet. Not in a way that would hold up in court. He slid a photograph across the table. It showed Vanessa and Derek at a restaurant. They were sitting close together, Derek's hand on Vanessa's knee. Vanessa was laughing. That was taken on February 4th, 2024, James said, at Cafe Nell in Northwest Portland, 6 weeks before Isaiah died. Another photo. Vanessa and Derek entering a hotel, the Embassy Suites on Multnomah Boulevard. February 17th. They stayed for 3 hours. Another photo. Derek and Vanessa in Derek's car, kissing. March 2nd, 2 weeks before Isaiah's death. James pulled out more photos, dozens of them. Vanessa and Derek at restaurants, hotels, Derek's condo in the Pearl District. A timeline of an affair spanning 6 months. Isaiah suspected the affair starting last November, James said. He hired me to confirm it. I did. But then I found something else. He pulled out more documents, bank records, the same ones I'd seen in the safety deposit box, plus more. Derek didn't just steal from Freeman and Associates, James continued. He was setting up for something bigger. He'd been preparing to dissolve the company, liquidate the assets, and disappear. Isaiah found out in early March. That's when things got dangerous. How dangerous? James met my eyes. Isaiah called me on March 13th, 2 days before he died. He said he'd confronted Derek, told him he knew about the embezzlement and was going to the police. Derek laughed, said Isaiah couldn't prove anything, said the company belonged to both of them, and if Isaiah tried to destroy Derek's reputation, Derek would destroy him. What did Isaiah say? He said he had proof. He was going to the district attorney's office on March 18th. James's voice dropped. He never made it. March 15th, the day Isaiah died. They killed him, I whispered. I believe so, but here's the problem. The medical examiner ruled it a natural death. Cerebral hemorrhage. No signs of foul play. No autopsy was ordered because there was no reason to suspect anything. Can we request an autopsy now? We can try, but we'd need probable cause. We'd need evidence of poisoning. I thought of the warfarin research I'd done. What if they used warfarin? In high doses, it can cause brain bleeding. James's eyebrows went up. You've been doing your homework. I was a nurse for 37 years. I know drugs, and I know 2 weeks before he died, Isaiah told me he was having headaches and nosebleeds. Vanessa was making him health smoothies. James leaned forward. Did you tell anyone this? No. Good. Don't. If Vanessa suspects we know, she'll destroy evidence. He pulled out his phone and made a note. I have a contact at the medical examiner's office. Dr. Sarah Chen. She's thorough. If I can convince her to look at Isaiah's case again, she might order a toxicology screen. What do we need? We need Detective Williams. Detective Sarah Williams worked in the Financial Crimes Unit of the Portland Police Bureau. She was 38 years old, white, with short blonde hair and tired eyes. She looked like she'd seen too much of humanity's worst behavior. We met in her office on March 21st, 3 days after the funeral. James had set up the meeting. Mrs. Freeman, Detective Williams said, shaking my hand. I've reviewed the information Mr. Mitchell provided. I'm very sorry about your son. Thank you. Can you help us? She gestured for us to sit. Maybe. Here's the situation. Derek Thompson has been on my radar for 4 months. We've been investigating financial irregularities at Freeman and Associates. Your son actually contacted me in January. My heart skipped. Isaiah talked to you? He did. He brought me preliminary evidence of embezzlement. We were building a case, but we needed more time, more proof. Financial crimes are complicated. We have to document everything, trace every dollar, establish clear intent. And then Isaiah died, I said quietly. Yes, and the case stalled. Detective Williams pulled out a file. Without Isaiah's testimony and cooperation, we don't have enough to charge Derek with embezzlement. We need someone with legal standing to access the company's financial records, someone who can authorize our investigation. Vanessa is Isaiah's wife, I said. She inherits his shares in the company. Won't she have that authority? She would, but she's not cooperating. In fact, she's actively blocking our investigation. James and I exchanged a look. She's protecting Derek, I said. That's my assumption. Which brings us to the murder allegation. Detective Williams folded her hands on her desk. Mr. Mitchell has provided circumstantial evidence of an affair between Vanessa Freeman and Derek Thompson. He's provided documentation of financial motive, but we don't have direct evidence that Isaiah Freeman was murdered. The medical examiner's report shows no signs of foul play. What about warfarin poisoning? I asked. Detective Williams' expression sharpened. What makes you think warfarin was involved? I explained about Isaiah's symptoms, the headaches, the nosebleeds, the health smoothies Vanessa had been making him. When I finished, Detective Williams sat back. That's compelling, but it's not enough for a warrant. We'd need probable cause to request an autopsy and toxicology screening. Right now, all we have is suspicion. What would give you probable cause? James asked. Detective Williams thought for a moment. We'd need evidence that Vanessa or Derek had access to warfarin, prescription records, pharmacy records, something concrete. What if they bought it illegally? I asked. Then we'd need evidence of that. A paper trail, a witness, something. I felt frustration rising. So they get away with it? They kill my son and walk free? Not necessarily. Detective Williams leaned forward. Mrs. Freeman, I believe your son was murdered. I believe Derek Thompson and Vanessa Freeman are responsible. But belief isn't enough. We need evidence. And to get evidence, we need to make them nervous. What do you mean? We need them to make a mistake. People who commit crimes, especially people who think they're smarter than everyone else, they get cocky. They get sloppy. If we apply pressure, they might slip up. How do we apply pressure? James asked. Detective Williams smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. We make them think we know more than we do. We make them think Isaiah left evidence behind. We make them panic. A trap, I said. Exactly. We spent the next hour planning. Detective Williams explained. Here's what we know. Derek embezzled $3.7 million. Vanessa was complicit. She received kickbacks totaling $463,000. They were having an affair. Isaiah discovered everything and was about to report them. He died 3 days before he could. So they had motive and opportunity, James said. Yes, but we need to connect them to the method. If Isaiah was poisoned with warfarin, someone had to obtain it and administer it. We need to prove that. How? I asked. Detective Williams pulled out a notepad. First, we need to check pharmacies. Warfarin requires a prescription. If either Derek or Vanessa obtained it legally, there'll be a record. And if they didn't? Then we look at illegal sources, medical supply companies, online pharmacies, the dark web. It's harder to trace, but not impossible. What about Vanessa's medical records? I asked. If she has a prescription for warfarin, that would show she had access. We'd need a warrant for that, and we don't have grounds yet. Detective Williams tapped her pen on the desk. But there's another approach. We make Vanessa think we already have the evidence. We make her believe Isaiah left documentation of her involvement, something that would implicate her. Like what? James asked. A recording, a video, a written confession. It doesn't matter what. We just need her to believe it exists. I thought of Isaiah's note. If you're reading this, something has happened to me. What if we let Vanessa know I found something Isaiah left behind? I said slowly. Something that mentions her. Something that makes her think he knew what she was doing. Detective Williams nodded. That could work, but we have to be careful. If she suspects we're setting a trap, she'll lawyer up and we'll lose our chance. So we make it subtle, James said. Mrs. Freeman mentions it casually, like she doesn't understand what it means, like she's confused and looking for answers. Exactly, Detective Williams agreed. We plant the seed, then we watch what she does. If she's guilty, she'll try to find this supposed evidence. She'll contact Derek. They'll communicate, and people under pressure make mistakes. What if she tries to hurt Mrs. Freeman? James asked quietly. The room went silent. Detective Williams met my eyes. That's a real risk. If Vanessa and Derek killed Isaiah, and if they think you're a threat. They already threatened me, I said. I told them about Derek's comment at the funeral, about the veiled reference to my mother's heart attack, about the warning to be careful. Detective Williams' face hardened. That son of a bitch. Okay, we'll put protection on you. Unmarked car, plain clothes. You won't see them, but they'll be watching. How long will this take? I asked. If we're lucky, a week, maybe 2. We need Vanessa and Derek to make contact, to discuss what you supposedly found, to incriminate themselves. Mr. Mitchell will maintain surveillance. We'll monitor their communications, phones, emails, anything we can access legally. And if they don't make a mistake? Detective Williams' expression was grim. Then we'll have to find another way. But Mrs. Freeman, I promise you, we will get justice for your son, one way or another. On March 23rd, 5 days after Isaiah's funeral, I went to Vanessa's house. She lived in West Hills, in a modern glass and steel house overlooking Portland. Isaiah had bought it 3 years ago for $1.2 million. Now it belonged to Vanessa. She answered the door in yoga pants and a cashmere sweater. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. She looked younger than her 36 years. Fresh, innocent, a murderer. Tiffany, she said, surprise flickering across her face. I wasn't expecting you. I'm sorry to drop by unannounced, I said, making my voice soft, uncertain. I I needed to talk to someone about Isaiah. Her expression shifted to sympathy. Of course. Come in. The house was spotless. White walls, modern furniture, fresh flowers on the entry table. Everything perfect. Everything cold. We sat in the living room. Vanessa offered me tea. I accepted, watching as she moved to the kitchen. She had Isaiah's wedding ring on a chain around her neck now, wearing it like a trophy. "How are you holding up?" Vanessa asked, bringing me a cup of chamomile tea. "Not well," I admitted. That part wasn't a lie. "I keep thinking about Isaiah, about what happened. It doesn't make sense. He was so healthy." "I know. The doctor said it was just one of those things, a blood vessel in his brain. It can happen to anyone." "I suppose." I took a sip of tea. "I've been going through some of Isaiah's things, papers, personal items." Vanessa's hand tightened slightly on her cup. "Oh?" "Yes. I found some documents. Financial things. I don't really understand them. But Isaiah had made notes about the company, about irregularities." Silence. "What kind of irregularities?" Vanessa's voice was carefully casual. "I'm not sure. Something about money being transferred. Accounts I'd never heard of. He'd written your name on some of the papers." Vanessa set down her cup. "My name?" "Yes. And Derek's. I thought maybe you'd know what he meant. Maybe he'd talk to you about it." "No, he didn't mention anything to me." "That's strange, because he seemed very concerned. He'd written dates, amounts. It looked important." "Tiffany, Isaiah was under a lot of stress before he died. Sometimes when people are overwhelmed, they imagine problems that aren't really there." I looked at her directly. "Are you saying my son was paranoid?" No, of course not. I just mean, maybe he made a mistake. Maybe he misunderstood something about the company finances. Maybe." I stood, pretending to be too grief-stricken to continue. "I should go. I'm sorry to bother you with this." "Wait." Vanessa stood too. "These documents, do you still have them?" "Yes, they're at home." "Maybe I should take a look, to help you understand what Isaiah was thinking." There it was. She wanted the documents. She wanted to know what I had. "That's kind of you," I said. "But I've already shown them to someone else. A lawyer. He's reviewing them now." Vanessa's face went pale. "A lawyer?" "Yes, Isaiah's friend from college. He said he wanted to make sure everything was in order with the estate." I touched her arm, like a confused elderly woman seeking comfort. "I hope that's all right. I just didn't know what else to do." "Of course," Vanessa said faintly. That's fine." I left. As I drove away, I looked in my rearview mirror. Vanessa stood in the doorway, phone already pressed to her ear. She was calling Derek. The trap was set. Detective Williams called me that night. "Mrs. Freeman, your instincts were right. Vanessa called Derek 17 seconds after you left her house. They talked for 11 minutes. Then Derek drove to her house. He stayed for 2 hours. What did they say on the phone?" "We couldn't hear specifics. We don't have a warrant for a wiretap yet. But their behavior tells us everything. They're scared." "Good," I said, as Sai said. Over the next week, James Mitchell's surveillance reports came daily. March 24th, Derek visited Vanessa's house at 6:47 a.m. Left at 8:15 a.m. Both looked agitated. March 25th, Vanessa went to 3 different storage facilities. Appeared to be searching for something. March 26th, Derek hired a document shredding company. They removed 17 boxes from Freeman and Associates. March 27th, Vanessa made 4 calls to attorneys. None would take her as a client without a retainer. She didn't have the money. March 28th, Derek withdrew $50,000 cash from his personal account. They were panicking, destroying evidence, preparing to run. "We need to move faster," Detective Williams said when we met on March 29th. "They're going to bolt." "What about the autopsy?" I asked. Dr. Chen agreed to review Isaiah's case, but she needs more to justify exhuming the body. The expense, the legal issues, we need stronger evidence. "We don't have time for stronger evidence," James said. "They're about to disappear." Detective Williams drummed her fingers on her desk. "Then we force their hand. We make them think we have everything. We bring them in for questioning." "Both of them?" I asked. "Separately. We separate them, question them, make each one think the other is about to flip. Classic interrogation technique. Someone always breaks." "When?" Tomorrow, April 1st. She smiled grimly. April Fool's Day. Fitting. I wasn't allowed in the interrogation rooms, but Detective Williams let me watch through the one-way glass. Room A. Derek Thompson, 9 a.m. Derek walked in with his lawyer, a sharp-faced woman in an expensive suit. He wore a gray sweater and jeans. Casual, confident. Detective Williams sat across from him, another detective beside her. Mr. Thompson, thank you for coming in voluntarily. Of course, happy to help. Derek's voice was smooth. Though I'm not sure what this is about. We're investigating some financial irregularities at Freeman and Associates. What kind of irregularities? Unauthorized transfers, missing funds, about $3.7 million. Derek didn't flinch. That's a serious accusation. Do you have evidence? We do. Bank records, corporate filings, digital trails. I'd like to see them. Detective Williams slid a folder across the table. Derek's lawyer opened it. Her face remained neutral, but I saw Derek's jaw tighten. These transfers were authorized, Derek said. Isaiah and I both had signing authority. These were legitimate business expenses. To TDT Holdings, LLC, a company you personally own? Consulting fees. $3.7 million in consulting fees? Freeman and Associates used multiple vendors. This is all documented. Detective Williams pulled out another document. What about these payments to Vanessa Freeman? $463,000 over 15 months. What were those for? Derek's confident expression flickered. Just for a second. I don't know what you're talking about. We have bank records showing transfers from TDT Holdings to Vanessa Freeman's personal account. 18 separate deposits. His lawyer leaned in, whispering. Derek shook his head. I have nothing more to say without reviewing these documents with my attorney. That's your right. But I should tell you, Vanessa is in the next room. She's talking. Right now. Derek's face went white. What? She's explaining everything. The embezzlement, the affair, the plan. Detective Williams leaned forward. Derek, whoever talks first gets the better deal. That's how this works. She's already started. You're running out of time. I want to speak to my lawyer, privately. Of course. Detective Williams stood and walked out. She came to the observation room where James and I were watching. He's rattled, she said, but he's not breaking yet. Let's see how Vanessa does. Room B, Vanessa Freeman, 9:30 a.m. Vanessa didn't bring a lawyer. That was her first mistake. She wore a black dress, her hair down, makeup perfect. She looked like a grieving widow. Fragile, innocent. Detective Williams sat across from her, gentle, sympathetic. Mrs. Freeman, thank you for coming in. I know this has been a difficult time. It has. Vanessa's voice trembled. I still can't believe Isaiah's gone. I understand. That's actually why we wanted to talk to you. We've been reviewing your husband's business affairs and we've found some concerning information. What kind of information? Financial irregularities. Large sums of money being transferred out of Freeman and Associates. Money that can't be accounted for. I don't know anything about that. Isaiah handled the business. I didn't get involved in the finances. Detective Williams slid a paper across the table. This is your bank statement from Wells Fargo. Do you recognize these deposits? Vanessa looked at the paper. Her face drained of color. Derek gave me those. Derek Thompson? Yes. He said they were bonuses. From the company. Profit sharing. $463,000 in profit sharing over 15 months? I didn't ask questions. Derek said Isaiah approved it. But Isaiah didn't know, did he? Vanessa's hands started shaking. I don't understand what you're implying. Vanessa, we know about the affair. We have photographs, surveillance footage, credit card records. We know you and Derek were together for at least 6 months before Isaiah died. Tears welled in Vanessa's eyes. Real ones this time. I made a mistake. I was lonely. Isaiah was always working. Derek paid attention to me. It just happened. And the money? Derek said it was fine. He said the company made enough. He said Isaiah would never notice. But Isaiah did notice, didn't he? Silence. Vanessa, we found Isaiah's notes. We know he discovered the embezzlement in early March. We know he confronted Derek. And we know he died 3 days before he was supposed to meet with the district attorney. That was a coincidence. The doctor said it was a stroke. Was it? Detective Williams pulled out another document. We've requested a full autopsy and toxicology screen. We're exhuming Isaiah's body tomorrow. Vanessa stood up abruptly. I don't have to listen to this. Sit down, Mrs. Freeman. Am I under arrest? Not yet, but you will be. We have enough evidence to charge you with conspiracy to commit embezzlement, fraud, and, depending on what the autopsy shows, accessory to murder. Vanessa sank back into her chair. Murder? I didn't kill Isaiah. I loved him. Did you? Detective Williams's voice hardened. Because the evidence suggests otherwise. You were having an affair with his business partner. You were accepting money stolen from his company. And in the 2 weeks before he died, you were making him health smoothies every morning. Smoothies that made him sick. That gave him headaches and nosebleeds. Those were vitamins, supplements. I was trying to help him. What kind of supplements, Vanessa? I don't remember. Derek bought them. He said they'd help with Isaiah's stress. The room went silent. Derek bought the supplements? Vanessa realized what she'd said. Her hand flew to her mouth. He was trying to help. We both were. What was in those supplements, Vanessa? I don't know. Yes, you do. I don't. Detective Williams leaned across the table. Derek is next door right now. He's telling us everything. He's saying this was all your idea, that you wanted Isaiah dead so you could inherit his money, that you convinced Derek to help you. He's making you the villain, Vanessa. And if you don't tell us your side of the story, right now, you're going to take the fall for everything. Vanessa broke. She dissolved into sobs, her perfect composure shattering like glass. I didn't want to kill him, she gasped. I didn't want any of this. I just wanted out. I was drowning in debt. Gambling debts. $800,000. My family didn't know. Isaiah didn't know. I was terrified. How did Derek find out? He saw the collection letters. He came to the house one day when Isaiah was gone and he saw them. He said he'd tell Isaiah unless I helped him. Helped him do what? Take money from the company. He said if I kept Isaiah distracted, kept him from looking too closely at the books, Derek could move money out gradually. He said once he had enough, he'd pay off my debts and we'd split the rest. And you believed him? I was desperate. I didn't have a choice. You had a choice, Vanessa. You could have told Isaiah. You could have asked for help. You don't understand. Isaiah was so good, so honest. He would have been ashamed of me. Disgusted. I couldn't tell him. Detective Williams' voice softened slightly. When did the plan change? When did Derek decide Isaiah had to die? Vanessa wiped her eyes. In March, Isaiah found the discrepancies. He told Derek he knew. Derek came to me and said we were out of time. He said if Isaiah went to the police, we'd both go to prison. He said there was only one way out. What way? Make it look like Isaiah had a stroke. Derek said it would be easy. He had access to warfarin through a pharmaceutical contact. He said if we gave it to Isaiah gradually, it would thin his blood. Then one large dose would cause a brain hemorrhage. The doctors would think it was natural. My hand gripped the edge of the observation window. James put his hand on my shoulder. Who administered the warfarin? Detective Williams asked. Vanessa's voice dropped to a whisper. I did. Derek gave me the pills. I crushed them and put them in Isaiah's morning smoothies for 3 weeks. And the final dose? March 15th. Derek said to give him triple the normal amount. He said it would happen fast, that Isaiah wouldn't suffer. But he did suffer, didn't he? He had headaches, nosebleeds. He was in pain. I know. Vanessa buried her face in her hands. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Did you call 911 when Isaiah collapsed? No. Derek was there. He said we had to wait, to make sure Isaiah was gone. We waited 45 minutes. Then Derek called. Detective Williams stood. Vanessa Freeman, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, first-degree murder, fraud, and embezzlement. You have the right to remain silent. As they led Vanessa out in handcuffs, she looked directly at the one-way mirror, like she knew I was there. I'm sorry, Tiffany, she said. I'm so sorry. I said nothing. The autopsy results came back on April 15th, 2024. Dr. Sarah Chen found warfarin levels in Isaiah's tissue samples that were 17 times the therapeutic dose. She found evidence of chronic internal bleeding. She changed the cause of death from natural causes to acute warfarin poisoning, homicide. Derek Thompson was arrested on April 16th at Portland International Airport. He'd been trying to board a flight to Costa Rica with $487,000 in cash and a fake passport. He was charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, embezzlement, fraud, and attempted flight from justice. His trial lasted 6 weeks. The prosecution presented bank records, surveillance footage, Derek's pharmaceutical contact who testified about the warfarin purchase, and Vanessa's full confession. Derek's defense tried to claim Vanessa had acted alone, that he'd known nothing about the poisoning, that she'd manipulated him. The jury didn't believe him. On June 28, 2024, Derek Thompson was convicted on all counts. Sentencing: life in prison without the possibility of parole. Vanessa's trial was different. She pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit murder, voluntary manslaughter, and fraud in exchange for a reduced sentence. At her sentencing hearing on July 12, 2024, she addressed the court. "Your Honor, I know there's nothing I can say that will make this right. I killed a good man. I killed Isaiah because I was weak and scared and selfish. I let Derek manipulate me, but that's not an excuse. I made the choice. I put the poison in my husband's drinks. I watched him die, and I'll live with that guilt for the rest of my life." She turned to face me in the gallery. "Mrs. Freeman, I know you'll never forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. Isaiah was kind to me. He loved me, and I killed him. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I looked at Vanessa, this woman who'd slept in my son's bed, eaten at my table, called me mom on holidays. This woman who'd murdered my child. "I don't forgive you," I said clearly, "but I hope prison gives you time to find whatever piece of your soul you lost. And I hope you think about Isaiah every single day for the rest of your life." Vanessa's sentence: 18 years in the Oregon State Correctional Institution. Before Derek's sentencing, the judge allowed me to give a victim impact statement. I stood at the podium in the courtroom. The room was packed. Media, family, friends, strangers who'd followed the case. I wore my best dress, the purple one Isaiah had bought me for my 60th birthday. He'd said, "Mama, you deserve to feel beautiful." I looked at Derek Thompson in his orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed in front of him. "Your Honor, members of the jury, my name is Tiffany Marie Freeman. I'm 64 years old. I'm a retired labor and delivery nurse. I'm a widow, and I'm the mother of Isaiah Marcus Freeman, the man Derek Thompson murdered. Isaiah was my only child, my miracle baby. The doctor said I couldn't have children, but God gave me Isaiah anyway. I raised him by myself after his father died. I worked double shifts at the hospital so he could go to college. I taught him to be honest, hardworking, and kind. And he was. Isaiah built a successful business. He helped families plan for their futures. He donated to charities. He called me every Sunday. He was a good man. Derek Thompson took that away from me. He didn't just kill my son. He tried to destroy his reputation. He tried to steal his life's work. And then he tried to make me believe Isaiah's death was natural, that it was God's will, that I should just accept it and move on. But I'm the daughter of sharecroppers from Mississippi who survived Jim Crow. I'm the widow of a man who worked 3 jobs to give our son opportunities. I'm a woman who spent her whole life fighting for what's right. So I didn't accept it. I didn't move on. I investigated. I found evidence. I built a case. And I made sure Derek Thompson would face justice. Your Honor, Derek Thompson thought he was smarter than everyone else. He thought because he had money and education and connections, he could get away with murder. He thought an elderly black woman wouldn't be a threat. He was wrong. My son's life mattered. His death will not be forgotten, and Derek Thompson will spend the rest of his life in prison knowing that a mother's love was stronger than his greed. Thank you. The courtroom erupted in applause. The judge didn't stop it. 6 months later, it's January 2025 now, 10 months since Isaiah died. I'm sitting on my front porch on Northeast Alberta Street, drinking my morning coffee. The Portland rain is gentle today, pattering on the roof. The house is still too quiet. I still expect to hear Isaiah's voice calling, "Hey, Mama," when he comes through the door. But I'm not alone anymore. James Mitchell and I started the Isaiah Freeman Foundation in September. We help families investigate suspicious deaths when the police won't. We fund legal aid for people who can't afford justice. We've helped 4 families so far. 2 cases are still open. 2 resulted in arrests. Detective Sarah Williams serves on our board. So does Dr. Chen. So does Ruth Washington and half my church prayer circle. Freeman and Associates was liquidated. The embezzled money, all $3.7 million, was recovered and divided among the company's clients who'd been defrauded. The remaining assets were sold. Isaiah's estate, after legal fees, totaled $4.2 million. Half went to the foundation. The other half I put in trust for Isaiah's goddaughter, Ruth's grandbaby, who's starting college next year. I don't need much. I have my house, my pension, my church, my friends, and I have my purpose. This morning a young woman came to my door. She was maybe 25, black, thin, with scared eyes. "Mrs. Freeman, my name is Keisha. My brother died 6 months ago. The police said it was a drug overdose, but he didn't use drugs. He was sober for 3 years. And his girlfriend, she inherited everything. His apartment, his car, his life insurance. She won't let us see the police report. Something's wrong, but I don't have money for a lawyer. I saw your foundation online. Can you help me?" I looked at this young woman standing on my porch in the rain. I saw myself. I saw every mother, every sister, every person who'd been told to just accept that someone they loved was gone. "Yes, honey," I said. "Come inside. Let's talk." They thought I was just an old woman, an elderly black widow with no power, no connections, no ability to fight back. They thought they could kill my son, take his money, and threaten me into silence. Derek Thompson thought his whiteness, his education, his charm would protect him. Vanessa Freeman thought her beauty, her youth, her tears would shield her. They were both wrong. I am Tiffany Marie Freeman. I am 64 years old. I am the daughter of sharecroppers. I am the widow of a good man. I am the mother of a murdered son. And I am the woman who brought his killers to justice. Not because I'm special, not because I'm extraordinary, but because I refused to let them win. Because I used every tool I had, my intelligence, my patience, my nursing knowledge, my community, my faith. Because when they underestimated me, I made that their biggest mistake. Isaiah used to say, "Mama, you're the strongest person I know. Baby, I hope I made you proud." I learned something these past 10 months. I learned that age isn't weakness, it's wisdom. I learned that grief can become fuel. I learned that justice isn't given, it's fought for. And I learned that sometimes the greatest victory isn't revenge. It's seeing the people who hurt you held accountable. It's turning your pain into purpose. It's helping the next person who needs someone to believe them. Derek Thompson has life in prison. Vanessa Freeman has 18 years. But I have something more valuable. I have peace. I sleep at night knowing I did everything I could for my son. I wake up every morning knowing his death wasn't meaningless. I spend my days helping others find the justice their families deserve. And every Sunday, I go to Laurelhurst Cemetery. I sit under that oak tree. I tell Isaiah about the foundation, about the families we're helping, about how his death sparked something that will save others. "You taught me to fight, baby," I say, and I'm still fighting. For you. For everyone. The Portland rain falls. The oak leaves rustle. And I swear I can hear my son's voice on the wind, saying what he always said. That's my mama. If this story touched you, if you've ever had to fight for someone you loved, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from and whether justice is possible in your corner of the world. Because this story, Isaiah's story, my story, it's not just about one family. It's about every family that's been told to accept injustice. Every mother who's lost a child. Every person who's been underestimated because of their age, their race, their gender. Subscribe if you believe that truth matters, that families matter, that justice is worth fighting for. Share this with someone who needs to know they're not powerless, that they're not alone. From my family to yours, stay vigilant, trust your instincts, and never let anyone make you feel small. I'm Tiffany Freeman, and this is my truth. God bless you all.